white sand, crashing waves, and beachgoers. And yes, we are in Illinois. I'm WEIU's Lacey Spence, and in this episode of Take a Hike, we'll share all that Illinois Beach State Park has to offer you.
Take a Hike on WEIU is supported by Roll King, America's farm and home store, camping supplies, kayaks, fishing and pet supplies, and more. Find your store and more information regarding Roll King at rollking.com.
It's almost impossible to imagine life without internet today. It keeps us connected to work, school, and loved ones, no matter where they are. Fidium Fiber Internet now serves over 1 million locations, providing reliable, consistent service that keeps these connections strong. From vibrant cities to quiet rural areas, fiber broadband is a key driver of economic growth. Fidium is dedicated to supporting communities and enhancing lives through this essential technology. Learn more at fidiumfiber.com.
Hi, I'm WEIU's Lacey Spence. I've lived in Central Illinois my whole life, and if there's one thing I've learned, you don't have to go too far to find the beauty of the great outdoors. Come along with me as I visit a variety of parks and natural areas across Illinois, and share why you should take a hike to each episode's location. Adventure and fun await in Take a Hike, the mini-series. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Take a Hike, the mini-series. I'm your host, Lacey Spence. And today we've got a little extra water behind us. We've got Lake Michigan as our backdrop. We've gone several hours north of the WEIU TV studios, and we are excited to welcome a new guest to the show. We've got Chase Firth here with us. Welcome to Take a Hike.
Hello, Lacey. Thank you so much. My name's Chase Firth. I'm the Natural Resource Coordinator here at Illinois Beach State Park.
Awesome. Illinois Beach State Park, that is where we're located today, and it's obviously a way different feel, a way different look from Central Illinois, where we're from. So can you start just by telling us a little bit about the history of Illinois Beach State Park?
Yes, of course. This is a fascinating history that's gone in so many different phases, Lacey. I like to think of kind of the start of this place as Camp Logan. Camp Logan was a state militia base in the late 1800s. It was actually formed, believe it or not, to kind of repress striking workers. Kind of interesting. But eventually that transitioned into kind of a state militia base, eventually a National Guard base. Even the FBI trained here. We have further down in the north section, you can actually still find bullet cases, shell cases essentially, that wash up, even projectiles. I have a whole exhibit in the Nature Center that has all kinds of bullets, cases, all kinds of stuff from Camp Logan.
That's so interesting. And so then you were telling me earlier that this site is kind of split into a north beach and a south beach. Can you kind of explain why that is?
Yes, that's kind of a fascinating thing, Lacey. Believe it or not, smack dab in the middle of this park is an old, essentially Zion nuclear plant. Fully defunct now, almost all the way demolished, but believe it or not, on that site we still have what's called temporary safe storage. So they still store spent nuclear fuel on that site.
So hopefully no three-eyed fish around here though, right?
Oh gosh, I haven't seen any. No green glowing things, but and the north section above that, Lacey, believe it or not, that actually used to be neighborhoods.
Really?
One of the largest eminent domain actions that Illinois has ever done was to basically reclaim that north section for the park. And so it's the north section, right down south, the nuke plant. That nuke plant just splits the park in half, and then we're in the south section.
Well, in preserving the land, I mean, it just looks like a snapshot back in time, especially as you're driving through and it goes straight from a neighborhood and then it turns into marshland.
Yeah.
Very cool. So as I brought up three-eyed fish as a joke,
right.
But there is a lot of variety of wildlife here.
Oh yeah.
Can you kind of talk about what people should expect, what they could see here?
Yeah, of course. So we have around 500 different species of plants, Lacey. So that's quite a broad variety. And we have plants that range from the Arctic, like bearberry, all the way down to the southwest. Like for example, we have eastern prickly pear cactus that's actually native here. Doesn't quite exactly make the fruits that you would expect from, prickly pear in the southwest.
Right.
Probably the most beautiful flowers that I've ever seen though, like almost like sunset colored flowers.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yellow, orange, and red, they're beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful. We have so many different kinds of animals too, Lacey. Is that something I should get into?
Yes, please.
Okay, I love talking about it. One thing that I really, really love here is that we have endangered species. We even have critically endangered species here. One thing that I really like is we do a captive breeding program for Blanding's turtles. Yeah, basically picture like a helmet, World War II shaped kind of helmet shaped turtle, and they have really long necks and yellow stripes down their bellies. I've never actually seen one in the park, Lacey. I'd love to see one day, but that's just one example of the rare creatures that we have here.
But allegedly they're here.
Oh, they're here. Believe me, they're here, yeah.
Lots of bird life, especially as we were walking through the nature center before we started recording. You were telling us about the different types of flying creatures you can see. Can you kind of walk us through a couple of those?
Yeah, absolutely. So first I'll start with kind of a little cutie.
Okay.
I really love bluebirds, eastern bluebirds. I consider them kind of my spirit animal. You mostly find them in the oak forest.
Okay.
And I've seen probably a dozen since I started here a few years ago, so they're not exactly common. I wouldn't call them rare, they're not endangered, but I absolutely love seeing bluebirds. If we're talking, let's step up a second, let's go to a little bit larger birds. We're going to raptors. So raptors are basically birds of prey. And so I'll even go right to my kind of crowning example. Right here out on those breakwaters out there, I often see bald eagles.
Oh, wow.
I love seeing bald eagles. It's a symbol of our country. It's, you know, one of the biggest raptors out there. I love them.
No, it's always exciting when you get to see a bird of that magnitude.
Yeah.
I have recently seen one. It flew right in front of my car, and its wingspan like nearly took the whole road, and it's so awe-inspiring.
They're so beautiful. And we actually, in the north section of the park, we have an annual event called the Hawk Watch. Yeah, it starts every fall. They're a citizen science group. Basically what they do is they sit under one of our pavilions and they basically look up at the sky and count the birds that migrate through. We are right on the Mississippi Flyway, so we get tons and tons of migratory birds coming through here, and they basically collate that data and analyze it to figure out, oh, maybe one year there's not as many hawks, maybe the next year there's even fewer. They can figure out kind of what's going on and what species are actually going through the park.
So check plus for bird watching.
Absolutely.
What other types of outdoor recreation activities are we kind of expecting? Because we see a lot of people out, and we're here in the middle of the week.
Yes. Yeah, and so even today, it's kind of a nice day out. I would expect, you know, a lot of people out here on the beach, and you can see that behind me. So of course, swimming is huge.
Swimming is
huge. Kayaking.
Okay.
Sailboating. You may be even able to see some sailboats kind of out in the distance. One thing that I think is really cool is we get a lot of kite surfers, believe it or not. So that's kind of folks that have like a big kite, they fly on the wind, and they just use it to propel themselves and kite surf. It's kind of an amazing thing to watch.
And so that's a lot of water recreation.
Yes.
If I'm somebody who's wanting to kayak, do I bring my own? Is there a place I can rent them?
We don't rent out kayaks, so I definitely recommend bringing your own equipment. And that's kind of just the water activities too. We also have tons and tons of trails, Lacey. Just in this section alone, we have 5 miles of hiking trails. In the north section, we have even more. We have multi-use trails that are good for bikes, good for dogs, good for even snowshoes in the winter. So yeah, there's quite a lot to do.
And so with this hiking, are we kind of talking flat terrain, challenging terrain? What are we working with?
I'd say it's relatively mild hikes. Yeah. So in the south unit where we are right now, we have the Dune Trail and the Dead River Trail. The Dune Trail is probably the easiest trail you'll do in your entire life, Lacey.
Okay.
Really, really beautiful. It starts in the oak forest. It goes onto the dunes. You can even go onto the beach and walk back on the beach if you want to. Highly recommend the Dune Trail. Our other trail, the Dead River Trail, my personal favorite trail.
Okay.
I see tons and tons of wildlife on that trail. Most of the birds that I like to see are on that trail, and that goes right next to the Dead River. And so that's kind of like a little bit hairier of a trail. There's some plants kind of touching you, but love the trail. Absolutely beautiful.
Closer to the Dead River, is that where you'll see more of the like marsh type of?
Definitely, yeah. So the Dead River is kind of a, why do you think they call it the Dead River, Lacey?
I mean, it doesn't sound good. I was afraid to question it.
It's totally innocuous, believe it or not. It's called the Dead River because it doesn't flow. Lake Michigan basically, yeah, exactly. Lake Michigan pushes sand into the mouth of the Dead River. And so that kind of helps create some of these wetland environments that are behind us. And yeah, you can see, I love seeing egrets out there, blue herons. They love to just sit in kind of the swampland and the marshland and just wait for little fish to come by so they can grab them.
And so if I've never been to the park before and I'm just trying to kind of get my bearings before I come, South Beach side has the Nature Center, the park office, the hotel. Is that affiliated with the state at all, or?
Not necessarily. We don't run the hotel, but it's an absolutely beautiful resort. It's here. Yeah, they lease the land from us and they run the hotel. But yeah, it's Illinois Beach Hotel and Resort. It just reopened last year after COVID, Lacey. But yeah, we have the Nature Center down here. That's where I work. That's my office. Right here, we got the park office. If you need any information at all, you can always go to the park office or the nature center. On weekends, the park office is not open, so come to the nature center. I'm open at the nature center on the weekends. But yeah, North Unit, we have North Point Marina even. They have farmers markets there. They have hundreds of boat slips at North Point Marina. That's also within the bounds of the park. Yeah, we have a swimming beach in the south side that's about 3 miles long. So tremendous swimming beach.
And so as I'm coming into the park, free entry into the park, as far as if I decide to kayak or bring something like that, do I need any sort of permit for that?
Not in particularly for that.
Okay.
There's certain permits that you do need. For example, if you come to metal detect, it's a free permit, totally okay to come and metal detect, bring your own equipment and stuff like that. You can even find some of those shell casings that I mentioned earlier, Lacey, that kind of wash up on the beach periodically. And sometimes if you're bringing a bigger group, like we have a lot of folks that love to throw parties and stuff like that. If you bring a bigger group, like larger than 25, then you do need a permit.
Gotcha. So out of everything that we've gone over so far, is there anything I haven't asked about that people should know of?
Oh gosh. The one thing that I think I want to mention, Lacey, is just how improved our beach is.
Yeah.
And as recently as last year, this beach was really not here. Erosion is kind of one of the main issues that we face at the park. And in some places, we get 100 feet of erosion in 1 year.
Wow.
Which is like, if you can imagine this beach just disappearing in 1 year, exactly. And so they spent quite a bit of money. The state of Illinois spent around $75 million to do beach replenishment and also to build some breakwaters to kind of mitigate that erosion. So all of this beach that we see behind us is basically brand new. And you can see how nice it is. You can see how attractive it is for folks to come and kind of recreate on the beach.
Right. It seems like well worth the investment
Oh,
to
yeah.
be able to preserve this area. But since you bring up kind of those conservation efforts, is there any way for people to get back to the park? Do you have any cleanup days or anything during the
Yes,
year?
absolutely. And if you guys if you guys, for example, have a volunteer group that's interested in doing work at the park, you can call the office. They'll patch you through to me. You can even call me directly. And we can schedule a volunteer day. We do beach cleanups. A lot of the time we do like Boy Scout groups or corporate groups want to come and they want to do beach cleanups, literally just making the park a nicer place. On top of that, we also have volunteer groups that come every Saturday and they do kind of like invasive species removal and certain other things to kind of maintain the health of the ecosystems.
And before we got recording, you told me that you also do some prescription burning.
Yeah, we do. Prescribed burns, yeah. I've never been a part of a prescribed burn personally. It's something I'd love to get trained on and be a part of. But yeah, we do prescribed burns here as kind of a conservation tool to maintain the health of certain areas. Mostly you won't see it too close to the beach. It's mostly in the further areas back, like the oak forest and the savanna. But sometimes you got to do that kind of thing. It's one more conservation tool that kind of helps you maintain the health of the habitat and the ecosystem.
Absolutely. Very popular downstate. I'm not sure we've gone through an episode where we haven't mentioned prescribed burns.
Okay.
It's an excellent tool
They're
there.
important, yeah.
Any more activities that we didn't quite hit? I was looking through the DNR website. It said scuba diving, but I wasn't quite sure.
I'll be honest, I've never seen a scuba diver here.
That was kind of what I thought.
Yeah, I think that it's probably something you could do right off the beach, especially with these new breakwaters.
Yeah.
The water in between the beach and the breakwaters is a lot more placid. There's way less wave energy than there used to be. So you can even kayak along this beach. You probably could do scuba diving here. I'd love to see that one day.
I would love to see you try.
Yeah, exactly.
And so if I'm somebody who is looking to get more information, do you all have any online resources?
Yeah, you can go to the DNR website. They have a page specifically for Illinois Beach State Park. On top of that, I will highly recommend our Facebook page.
Okay.
Illinois Beach State Park Facebook page. That's where I run that page. I put out information about projects that we do, trails that may be closed, certain things like that. On top of that, we do like beach advisories. If there's beach, sometimes the waves get really, really intense, and so we have to warn the public about that. We'll use Facebook for that on top of other methods. Yeah, so go to the Facebook page, you guys. Illinois Beach State Park Facebook page.
Now, obviously, we're here on a very sunny, picturesque day. A lot of people think of taking to the water, taking to trails when it's nice and beautiful outside, but you did mention snowshoeing earlier.
Of course.
Not even having to dive into snowshoeing if you don't want to. But winter months, what does this site offer for people to check out and see?
One of the favorite things that I like to do during the winter is kind of just hike the trails. They're not necessarily maintained in the winter in the sense that we don't shovel any trails. They're natural trails. We don't apply salt. We won't plow the trails. So definitely make sure you got kind of your winter boots on for sure. But it's so beautiful in the winter. And the fact that the trees are bare actually lets you see more wildlife. It lets you see more birds. So I really like coming and just hiking in the winter.
Definitely. Do you all have deer up this way?
Oh yeah.
A lot of deer?
A lot of deer. We actually do an archery hunting season for white-tailed deer only, just as a conservation tool, just so that we don't have to reduce the deer population and the public can have recreation and go hunt deer on their own.
Now, how far are we from the city of Chicago proper?
I'll say probably like 40 miles.
About 40 miles. So I assume you get lots of visitors from the city. What's
Very much
usually
so.
their take on having something this close, but to, I mean, it just appears so like untouched, like
Yeah.
raw and natural preserved.
I've often heard this park described as a hidden gem.
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure how really hidden it is,
Yeah.
but folks in Chicago that want to kind of escape the city and come up here and really experience some natural wildlife and some natural wilderness, I think it's really a shock for them to see how beautiful it is, see how vast it is. And for example, we have state parks in Chicago. We have William Powers State Park that's a little bit south of Chicago, but it's a little bit smaller, not as many recreation opportunities. Fantastic park, I highly recommend it. But here at Illinois Beach, it's something totally different. It's a whole separate world. This is really the only chunk of dune and swale topography in the whole state of Illinois. So you're going to see things here that you can't see anywhere else.
Well, that's definitely why we wanted to save you for last for this season, just because we've not seen anything like this in our prior 3 seasons. We talked about kind of summer activities, winter activities. What about spring? Do you get a lot of beautiful wildflowers here?
So many,
So
Lacey.
many?
We even get rare wildflowers. We have groups of plants of concern monitors that come and mark rare wildflowers, and they won't even tell you where they are because
Really?
they're so rare that they don't want people poaching them. And so sometimes you got to go out and really get into the woods to kind of look for these rare ones. But I love fringe gentians. They're these beautiful purple flowers that are kind of blooming right now. I love the prickly pear that we mentioned earlier that kind of blooms in summer, but you can start to see them around spring too. Yeah, spring is really the wildflower time of the year, Lacey. Spring going into summer, that's really when you want to see wildflowers. And we have hundreds of species here. It's so beautiful in the spring.
Well, and let's trickle on into fall as well.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's at least some beautiful fall colors with the oak forest and things.
Absolutely. The oak forest is one of my favorite places to walk in the fall. First of all, you have your fall colors, but on top of that, Lacey, fall is kind of snake season. So if you really like it, yeah.
You had me sell snakes.
Well, I'm sorry I lost you, Lacey, but I really love snakes. And none of the snakes here are venomous, so you can kind of get a little bit closer without worrying too much about it. Try not to bug them too much, but sometimes I'll pick up a snake and kind of look at it and see what's going on. But none of them are venomous, Lacey, so it's totally okay. We have hognose, we have eastern fox snake. Fox snake can freak out people because it'll stick its tail up and waggle it like a rattlesnake. Not a real rattle, not venomous, kind of just an evolutionary behavior.
It's just trying to protect itself and say, hey, give me my
Absolutely.
space, back
So
off.
if you like snakes, fall is definitely the time to come.
Okay, well, you'll see me in spring.
That sounds good, Lacey.
Before we head into the second half of our episode, is there anything I haven't asked about that you want to tell people about that you think is important?
Gosh, I'll say this. I think that the Nature Center is not necessarily underrated, but I wish more people would come and see it.
Yeah.
The Nature Center is fantastic, and I think that the more people go in and see it, the more popular it'll get just by word of mouth. And I think people need to know about the Nature Center. The Nature Center is really, really impressive, and I think a lot of people are happy to go in there, and they're really excited to see it. So that's what I'll recommend is the Nature Center.
Well, and the sights are obviously beautiful to just see with your eyes, but when you get to learn about a place and know more about it, it gives you more meaning, more heart, I think.
100%. I feel connected to this place. I feel like this is a really special place, and it's really the only place like this in all of Illinois. So I feel kind of honored to work here.
And I'm sorry, one more time. If there is are there programming or anything for children as far as learning experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is what I'll say again, you guys. Facebook. If there's anything like that goes out, or if I'm planning an event, like for example, the Hawk Watch had their 25th anniversary recently, and they're every fall, so you guys can go up into the North Unit and see the Hawk Watch. But yeah, if you guys want to plan any kind of events, you can always get in touch with us. If you guys want to have a party, if you guys want to have, really any kind of conservation themed event, but pay attention to that Facebook. That's how you'll know about it.
Great. All right. Well, Chase is going to take us on a bit of an adventure on wheels, so don't go anywhere. Take a hike. We'll be right back. And we are back. We are about to be on wheels. We've still got Chase with us here. So, Mr. Chase, first, can you please fill us in? What are we about to do? What are we going to see?
So we're about to take one of my little vehicles here, our ATV, and we're going to go around the Dune Trail. The Dune Trail is a really, really good place to showcase biological succession, Lacey. So basically what that means is as we go further and further towards the beach, we're going to see less and less plants, and we're going to see earlier stages of development of the ecosystem. Eventually, we're going to get to the beach where there's no plants, and that kind of illustrates the very first step of how plants move into an area.
Perfect. Well, take us back and take us on the road.
Let's do it. This section up here on the left, this is like the second half of the Dead River Trail. Tons of cactus on that trail. At this time of year, I'm mostly seeing like goldenrods, like those yellow flowers you see right there, those are goldenrods. Seeing asters start to come out too. So like those little tiny purple ones right there, those are asters. Most of the trees here you see here are oak trees, black oak trees. This is kind of like the start of the black oak forest, and then more to our right and less to our left. And that's kind of like succession. Like if you guys look to the left, like the further and further you go towards the beach, the less plants you're gonna see. Because that basically means that the soil is less nutrient dense, and so plants can't really grow in that sandy soil without nutrients. In these low areas, you guys, like over on the right side over there, that's what we call an interdunal pond. Interdunal ponds are exactly what they sound like. It's basically a low area in between two dunes that doesn't really drain that well, and so it stays wet. Really good environment for like larger birds, like egrets and herons like to hang out there. A lot of turtles too, and frogs. So we're about to pass into the area, you guys, that's known kind of as the rear dunes. You're gonna start to gradually see less trees. The trees will become less dense, less tall, and that's all because the soil just really doesn't have the nutrients to support the forest like we just saw behind us. This is a perfect illustration of kind of how the dunes topography works and how succession works. Because you can see the closer and closer we get to the beach, less nutrients in the soil, less water in the soil, so you get less plants. You can see in some of the lower areas, you will get trees, and that's because those areas will stay moist longer, so they have more of an opportunity to grow. And then behind me, we can see the forest. We can basically see how that progresses, and more plants and animals will die and provide humus and nutrients to the soil, and more plants can grow in the forest. So that's kind of how succession works. It starts off as nothing. These little tiny plants move in called pioneer plants, and they basically, by them dying, they produce the nutrients in the soil for other larger plants to grow.
And so what are we talking about when it comes to wildlife then? Is there that kind of same?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you will get birds and stuff like that that are out on the shore, like ring-billed gulls and things like that don't really care. But on top of that, you really need, the animals need a specific habitat to live, right? And so things that live in the forest, you won't find out here. And vice versa. Things that live on the beach, you won't find in the forest. So everything kind of has their own niche.
And so this is our final stop before the beach then?
Yes. Yeah, right. Beach is next.
All right.
Beach is right up there, you guys.
Let's hit it one more time.
Let's get it, okay. This right here, you guys, is kind of like crater. They call that a blowout. A blowout is basically when there's some disturbance of the root system, often human caused by like folks walking over the dunes to kind of make their own paths. That damages the root system to an extent where they can't hold on to the sand anymore, and it blows out. So they call it a blowout. And eventually those will be recolonized by essentially the same pioneer plants that are colonizing the rest of the dunes, but it is detrimental to the health of the dunes for sure. So we strongly encourage people to use marked trails only. This kind of evergreen stuff that you see on the ground, that is horizontal juniper. Y'all know what juniper is used for?
I think Christmas.
Okay, that's fair. They make gin out of juniper. Oh. Juniper berries is how they flavor gin historically. So the sand here is real loose, you guys, so you can tell the Polaris is having like a little bit of trouble, but hopefully we don't get stuck.
Instead of take a hike, it's take a tow.
Take a tow, yeah. They got a big tractor that they can use to pull us out if worse comes to worse. This kind of illustrates how the beach looked before we did the beach replenishment. So like all these rocks, this used to be kind of like a gravelly pebble beach. And now you can see how nice and sandy the beach is up by where we were. On the other hand, this is a really good place for rock hounds, like people that really love to see, there we go. See, if this wasn't four-wheel drive, I guarantee that would have got stuck right there. I really like to look at rocks. So this is a really good opportunity to see kind of like the different minerals and stuff. Porphyritic granite, you guys, very beautiful, in my opinion. I love seeing the big crystals in there. You can see all kinds of different stuff out here. All right, so this is kind of our final stop, Lacey. This is kind of where it begins and ends, if you will. This is the storm beach. This area right here that we're standing on, no plants at all, right? When you get a little bit further back, that's when you start to see dune grasses. Yes. Dune grasses are arguably the most important plant in this entire park. Without the dune grasses, the dunes would literally blow away. And the way that the wind and waves work is it basically pushes sand south and a little bit east. So if you've ever been to like Indiana dunes, they're way taller than us because they basically steal our sand. Yeah. So yeah, that's Succession, you guys. This is kind of the start of it all. This is where kind of life develops, so to speak.
And so you can just kind of track the development of this rich landscape.
Yeah.
Point A to point B.
Very much so. And you can see a lot of these lines, you guys. I would love to show you an aerial photo. A lot of these kind of like higher ridges behind us are what they call relict beach ridges. That's where the shoreline was 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago. Those are really clearly marked. So I think it's really interesting to see kind of how the lake has changed over time and grown and shrunk and done different things. And the landscape tells that story.
Yeah. Well, everything that you've shown us today from point A to point B has been absolutely stunning. Thank you so much for your time and showing us around.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, it's been so wonderful. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Glad you had a great time too. We hope our viewers enjoyed this episode of Take a Hike the mini-series, and we hope that you'll join us next season.
It's almost impossible to imagine life without internet today. It keeps us connected to work, school, and loved ones, no matter where they are. Fidium Fiber Internet now serves over 1 million locations, providing reliable, consistent service that keeps these connections strong. From vibrant cities to quiet rural areas, fiber broadband is a key driver of economic growth. Fidium is dedicated to supporting communities and enhancing lives through this essential technology. Learn more at fidiumfiber.com.
Take a Hike on WEIU is supported by Roll King, America's farm and home store, camping supplies, kayaks, fishing and pet supplies, and more. Find your store and more information regarding Roll King at rollking.com.